In the top stories, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Roux is calling for a unified approach to social security reform. A new report is urging increased investment and regional cooperation to drive sustainable growth in the Caribbean. And on the international scene, several people have been injured after two trains collided in Denmark. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is Thursday, the 23rd day of April, and I am Jasmine Thomas. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Roux is calling for a unified national approach to social security reform in St. Christopher and Nevis. Speaking at a stakeholders meeting on the state of the Social Security program, Dr. Roux said the system was created to protect workers and must now be strengthened through collective action.
Let us learn from history that having a partisan approach to the reform of social security for all of us is the worst approach that we can have. But history would have taught us that solidarity, even across political lines, would be most important for the well-being of all. And so today, I call on political parties. I call on political leaders to look at the data and information being presented, and let us all decide to not allow social security to become a political football, but allow it to be a moment of solidarity for all of us to unite on.
The Prime Minister also reflected on the broader importance of social security to national development and economic stability.
Social security has become the bedrock of our social protection system. A lot of people look forward to 62 and for that call to collect their pension. Social security is reliable here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It has supported our people in times of illness, provided maternity benefits to families, assisted those facing invalidity, and most significantly, ensured that thousands of our elderly citizens receive pensions that allow them to live with dignity and independence.
Dr. Roux reiterated that reform is necessary to address current challenges and ensure the system remains sustainable for future generations.
While the fund remains solvent today, supported by reserves built over decades of careful management, projections indicate that without reform, those reserves could be significantly depleted in the years ahead. You have heard the numbers, and we are reflecting on them. This is the reality that brings us here today.
The Honorable Dr. Terence Roux, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, has identified food and energy security as critical priorities for the region's economic future. He was speaking at the 10th Annual Growth and Resilience Dialogue, where he warned that heavy reliance on imports continues to expose regional economies to global shocks. Antoine said a significant portion of food consumed across the region is imported, costing billions each year and creating a major vulnerability. He called for greater investment in local agriculture, reduced import dependence, and stronger value chains to improve food security.
We import nearly 90% of the food we consume at a cost of more than $2 billion every year. That is not just a food bill, colleagues. It is a vulnerability bill paid every time the world is disrupted. Every external shock, whether supply chain disruption or price hikes, hits our plates and our pockets.
The governor also pointed to energy as a major area of concern, noting that nearly 90% of the region's energy is imported through fossil fuels. He said this dependence leaves countries exposed to global price swings, which drive up costs for electricity, transportation, and food, while adding pressure on government finances. Antoine described the situation as unsustainable and urged a shift to renewable energy sources, including geothermal, wind, and solar.
Technical assessments suggest that there are several gigawatts of geothermal potential and hundreds of megawatts of wind potential across the Eastern Caribbean. Here at the ECCB, a megawatt or 1 megawatt solar plant, which you saw when you drove in this morning, currently saves the bank almost $2 million annually. And I'm immensely proud to confirm that this dialogue, as we speak, is powered by solar PV.
He added that clean energy projects already underway at delivering millions in savings and called for faster implementation across the region. The dialogue forms part of a broader efforts by the ECCB to strengthen productivity and build economic resilience. Personnel from the St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, and the Customs and Excise Department have completed a week-long weapons and ammunition management training program at Camp Springfield. The training was conducted in partnership with CARICOM Impacts and facilitated by the Mines Advisory Group. It forms part of broader efforts to strengthen regional security cooperation and build capacity across national security agencies. Participants were trained in safe handling procedures, secure storage, accountability measures, and risk mitigation in line with international standards. The Defense Force says those who completed the program are now better equipped to support national and regional security objectives, particularly in the management of ammunition and explosives. On the regional scene, a new regional report is calling for greater investment across the Caribbean to build resilience, close infrastructure gaps, and drive sustainable growth. The findings were presented during the One Caribbean Ministerial Dialogue, with leaders urging a more coordinated approach to development. Officials from the Inter-American Development Bank Group and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development say stronger regional cooperation can help scale up projects, reduce costs, and attract more investment. The report identifies key priorities, including resilient infrastructure, stronger early warning systems, and expanded public-private partnerships to protect economies from shocks. It also highlights the need to invest in areas where the region has a natural advantage, including energy, tourism, the creative economy, and the blue economy. Officials say the level of investment required will demand new financing approaches, including greater private sector involvement and innovative tools such as green and blue bonds. The One Caribbean initiative, launched in 2024, focuses on areas including disaster risk management, food security, citizen safety, and digital transformation. The Bahamas Free National Movement says it plans to remove former leader Dr. Hubert Minnis from the party following his decision to run as an independent. Dr. Minnis has entered the Killarney race in the upcoming May 12, where he will face the FNM's Michaela Ellis and two other contenders. FNM Chairman Dr. Dwayne Saunders says the party will formalize his removal, but not during the current campaign. He noted that under party rules, any member who runs against an official FNM candidate is considered to have resigned. Dr. Minnis, who led the FNM to victory in 2017 before its defeat in 2021, would be the first former leader to be removed from the party. Dr. Minnis has been critical of the party since breaking ranks, claiming he was sidelined and subjected to a smear campaign. He has defended his decision to run, saying he remains committed to the people of Killarney. We now take a look at news on the international scene. Authorities in Denmark are investigating a major train collision that left 5 people critically injured. The crash happened early Thursday morning near the town of Hillerød, about 40 kilometers north of Copenhagen. Officials say 38 people were on board the two trains at the time of the collision. Around a dozen others suffered minor injuries. Emergency crews responded quickly, with some of the injured airlifted to hospital for treatment. Images from the scene show significant damage to the front of both trains, though they remained upright on the tracks. Police said the incident occurred near a level crossing, and investigations are now underway to determine what caused the crash. Local officials note the rail line is frequently used by residents, including workers and school children. No further details have been released at this time. And India and South Korea are moving to strengthen economic and strategic relations, with both countries setting an ambitious trade target. India Prime Minister Narendra Modi and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung met in New Delhi on Monday, where they agreed to nearly double bilateral trade to $50 billion by the year 2030. Current trade between the two countries stands at about $27 billion. Prime Minister Modi said the partnership will focus on stronger supply chains, improved market access, and greater investment. President Lee noted that cooperation will expand in key areas, including shipbuilding, defense, and artificial intelligence, as well as advanced manufacturing and critical minerals. The two sides also discussed increasing energy-related trade with South Korea, expected to boost imports of naphtha from India. The talks come amid global economic uncertainty and supply chain challenges linked to tensions in the Middle East. President Lee is expected to travel to Vietnam following his visit to India. We now take a look at the weather. Partly cloudy conditions are expected across the islands, with a moderate chance of showers over the next 24 hours. Temperatures will reach a high of 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit, with a low of 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Forecasters say a weak low-level trough near the Leeward Islands could trigger some activity, but limited moisture will keep conditions generally stable. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers. Tomorrow will follow a similar pattern with partly cloudy skies and a 40% chance of showers. Winds will be from the east-northeast at 9 to 22 kilometers per hour or 6 to 14 miles per hour. Seas will range between 1 and 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. Sunrise tomorrow is expected to be at approximately 10 minutes before 6, with sunset at about 6:29. And that brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jasmine Thomas. God